All right, let's dive right into today's explainer. We're looking at a wildly ambitious lecture, one that proposes a massive, top to bottom societal movement to tackle South Korea's most pressing crisis. Honestly, it's a completely fascinating look at how you could potentially combine corporate influence, intellectual firepower, and even global pop culture into this singular engine to cure a nationwide emergency. So let's jump straight into the exact blueprint laid out in this source material. The speaker sets a remarkably urgent tone right out of the gate. Look, this isn't framed as just some tragic statistic. It's a dire national emergency. According to the lecture, South Korea has spent over a decade locked in the #1 spot for suicide rates globally. The speaker argues this phenomenon is literally creating a sign of national ruin. It's described as this enormous event happening right under everyone's noses, an event that, frankly, heaven itself cannot be happy about. This deep, absolute sense of crisis, that's the foundation for everything we're about to explore.
So, you're probably wondering, how exactly does this blueprint propose to fix something so massive? The speaker insists that small, fragmented efforts just aren't going to move the needle here. To reverse a trend of national ruin, you need a comprehensive, highly organized plan. The source lays out a very specific multi-step roadmap, and it all kicks off with the creation of an entirely new type of organization. And that brings us to the core concept, the social parents organization. You can think of this as the ultimate caretaker for the entire nation. The lecture doesn't describe this as just some casual weekend club. No, this is a formal foundation with a singular, massive agenda to take collective responsibility for society. The idea is that citizens come together not to push their own small individual agendas, but to study, research, and truly act as parents to a struggling society. It's all about stepping up to heal these deep-rooted issues that the current systems have basically failed to fix. But wait until you hear the scale of this thing, because the sheer ambition is staggering. The speaker insists this foundation cannot officially launch its true mission until it hits a target of 3 million to 5 million members. 3 to 5 million. This isn't just about local charity. We're talking about building an organization with the demographic weight of a small country. The source explicitly warns that trying to pull this off with a few thousand or even tens of thousands of people is just going to result in chaos. Or, as the speaker actually puts it, the ship will go to the mountains. To have the immense power needed to genuinely change South Korea, the club absolutely has to reach this massive critical mass first. Moving on to Section 1, the engine. Activating the intellectuals. Because getting millions of members is just the raw energy, right? You need a system to actually direct that energy. And the blueprint outlines this strict 3-tiered structure. The speaker makes a really fascinating claim here. Right now, the nation's PhDs are basically idle because they don't have a structured environment to research solutions for society. Well, this foundation would change that. Under the leadership of the top corporate families, the chaebols, the foundation opens its doors to these masters and doctorate holders. They become the ones planning and researching societal solutions at the absolute highest level. Meanwhile, folks with bachelor's degrees form the grassroots level, out there executing these meticulously researched plans across the country. Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, the leadership, chaebol women at the helm. Now, to lead this colossal effort, the source presents a highly distinct division of labor for the nation's elite. According to the lecture, the male corporate executives, the chairmen and presidents, they should be out there running the external businesses and driving the economy. But the wives and daughters of these conglomerates, who the speaker claims are currently totally underutilized, they need to step up and lead the domestic social enterprises. This is explicitly framed as ushering in an era of female leadership, where women take absolute responsibility for the internal housekeeping of the nation. And in this context, that means running the Social Parents Foundation. And the blueprint doesn't just speak in generalities. It singles out one specific individual, Hotel Shilla CEO Lee Boo-jin. The speaker identifies her as the essential, divinely mandated leader needed to give this foundation its ultimate public credibility. It's an incredibly audacious strategy, honestly. The argument is that the foundation needs someone with the highest possible influence to really capture the public's attention. If regular, everyday citizens declare a movement, it probably won't resonate. But if a highly prominent female leader from the Samsung family steps forward, the lecture claims the entire nation will stop and listen. According to the lecture, a grassroots movement just isn't going to cut it for a crisis this critical. The speaker actually frames this as a special mandate from heaven. It requires a singular, highly influential voice, like Lee Boo-jin's, to officially step away from merely running a corporation and publicly declare the Suicide Zero initiative. The source insists that her specific energy and status make her literally the only person capable of launching this crucial first step. She's the catalyst that will draw all the other social parents to the cause. And right after that declaration, the chronological roadmap moves incredibly fast. The speaker predicts explosive growth driven by this elite leadership. After the launch, the blueprint estimates it'll take just 6 months to gather 1 to 1.5 million members. And at that exact moment, the plan calls for former museum director Hung Ra-hee, the elder mother figure of the family, to step in as president of the foundation. The lecture claims that once she officially joins, membership will absolutely skyrocket, hitting that magic number of 3 to 5 million within just a year to 18 months. It's a wildly fast timeline.
And that brings us to Section 3, the climax, a global Hallyu festival.
So once that 5 million member threshold is reached, the whole blueprint culminates in this unprecedented cultural explosion. It's all about leveraging South Korea's massive cultural power on a global scale. The plan? Unite the country's entertainers. We're talking everyone from massive young groups like BTS all the way to veteran cultural figures, and appoint them all as official public relations ambassadors. Together, they host a colossal 3 to 4 day international festival right in South Korea. But here's the kicker. This isn't just a pop concert. The lecture explicitly states that interwoven with all these performances, the profound message of the Suicide Zero Project is going to be broadcast to the entire viewing world. This actually brings us to a really profound claim from the source material. This speaker states, the world does not yet truly know South Korea. Sure, the globe might know the country for its pop culture, its technology, its exports, but the speaker claims this grand festival will serve as South Korea's true debut to humanity. By stepping onto the world stage, not just with top-tier entertainment, but with a humble yet incredibly powerful agenda to eradicate suicide, South Korea totally transitions its global image. It shifts from just being a pop culture hub into becoming a profound moral societal leader for all of humanity. So, as we wrap up our explainer of this ambitious blueprint, we're left to ponder a pretty provocative question. We've seen how this material weaves together elite corporate leadership, the mobilization of millions of everyday citizens, structured intellectual research, and the immense soft power of global K-pop icons, all into one massive societal prescription. It's a completely unique intersection of corporate power, pop culture, and deep societal healing. But can a corporate-led cultural movement truly solve a national crisis? Does this top-down, culturally explosive approach really hold the key to the Suicide Zero Project? It certainly leaves us with a lot to think about regarding how nations might creatively mobilize to save themselves. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to keep exploring these fascinating blueprints for societal change.